Welcome to the video, guys. The rhetoric that says we are leaving the EU at the end of the year is continuing from ministers in Boris Johnson's government. Now, obviously, we have to hope that they stick to their word, but at least it is looking like they plan to, and might even well take us out on a WTO Brexit, which is what we've all been asking for a long time now. The government have realised, it would seem, that the best option is to leave with possibly a WTO Brexit, or force the EU into some kind of deal that will heavily favour what Boris Johnson wants, which, to be honest, I really don't know what it is. But either way, it seems this government might actually stick to its word, as is reported in the Express and the Telegraph. So we'll check out the Express first, which headlines: Brexit warning, full exit, full steam ahead. UK fires back at EU coronavirus threat. Britain's full exit from EU rules is going ahead on schedule despite the coronavirus crisis, a cabinet minister promised last night. Environment Secretary George Eustace, who is helping to prepare the way for the UK's departure from the Brussels fishing and farming regimes, insisted the post-Brexit transition out of the bloc will be completed by the end of the year, which has probably got to be the 6th or 7th minister, including Boris Johnson himself, who has said we are leaving at the end of the year, no ifs or buts about it. Which, to be honest, would be the politically smart move for the Conservative Party, lest they become a laughingstock at the next election like Labour did for going against the wishes of the people. His pledge comes ahead of another round of UK-EU trade negotiations due to be held by video conference next week. Answering a question about what was happening with Brexit from a member of the public at the daily coronavirus briefing yesterday, the Environment Secretary said, "We're still going ahead with Brexit." Brexit, in fact, it is something that has already happened. We left the European Union at the end of January. Technically, we have a transition period that ends at the end of this year, and we will still be ending that transition period on time as planned. We are still doing whatever planning is necessary to ensure that after the transition period we can trade normally and function normally as a country. I don't think there'll be much need to plan for that. That just comes as a given, much like every other nation around the world. His pledge comes in the face of warnings from European leaders that time is running out to conclude a trade deal amid major differences over fishing rights and future regulations. Deputy Irish Premier Simon Coveney yesterday claimed the coronavirus pandemic has made the timeline for a UK-EU trade deal virtually impossible. And the wonderful thing is, no one gives a monkey's buck fuck what you've got to say about it at the end of the day. This situation has made what is already a very, very difficult timeline to get agreement virtually impossible, he claimed. Well, we can leave on WTO terms, it's no big deal to us. Might be a big deal to the European Union and maybe to the Republic of Ireland, but not a big deal to us. You know what you can always do if you don't like the current situation? You can always leave the EU and join us in independence, you know? I'm sure the people of your country wouldn't mind if recent polling is to be believed, as I covered the other day. Given the added complications of coronavirus, it surely makes sense to seek a bit more time to navigate our way through these very difficult waters in the months ahead so that we can get a good outcome for the UK and the EU. No, you mean so you can get a good outcome for the EU at the expense of the UK. We already know what the EU and its member states are after in relation to us leaving, because they need it, lest the bloc crumbles and dies like it should. Asked if the UK government could be persuaded to extend the timeline, he said, "I think anybody looking at this from the outside could only conclude it makes sense to look for more time, but the British government has decided that's not what they want, and they have made that very clear, both publicly and privately, as they should. It doesn't matter about what they want. The people of this country spoke multiple times on this matter. It is done. The government has to do what we have said now, or they know they will be out on their ear, much like Maybot and, of course, the Corbynated chicken, who took Labour to the worst defeat in 85 years. I wouldn't be raising expectations around the British government agreeing to seek in more time. If we were going to have any chance of persuading them to take more time, then we need to be careful about how we do it, because demanding it from them almost as a concession to the EU is certainly not the way to do it, which is the way they've been going about it so far. Mr. Coveney was speaking at a video conferencing seminar on the EU hosted by the International Institute of European Affairs on Friday. So you can tell they're all a little bit salty that we're not going to extend the transition period, and Boris Johnson's ministers are actually coming out and saying that Brexit is going to go ahead whether they like it or not. Which brings us to this story in the Telegraph. Hard Brexit more likely because of the coronavirus and a lack of progress in talks, says German Foreign Minister. Well, at least someone's waking up to the reality over in the EU. Heiko Maas blamed Britain for disregarding the agreed political declaration and warned that an extension to the deadline could be needed. Yes, it's needed for the EU, but it's not needed for us. We don't want any part of it. We'll take a hard Brexit right now, thank you very much. A hard Brexit is more likely due to the coronavirus crisis because Britain and the European Union have made so little progress in talks. Germany's foreign minister has said, negotiations between Britain and the EU so far on the future trade relationship have yielded few gains, with the UK disregarding the political declaration, which she said was simply not on. Well, the political declaration is not binding, so we can take it, wipe our ass with it, and smother it in your face, and there'll be nothing you can do about it, except of course, piss and whine like you are now. Britain left the EU in January, and talks with the bloc are now focused on setting new trading terms from 2021, when London's status quo transition period ends. However, the talks quickly hit an impasse when negotiations resumed last month, according to diplomats and officials, as I covered at the time. Because the EU are demanding level playing field, we stick to ECJ rules, and of course we allow them to continue stealing all our fish, which the government are apparently not going for, as they shouldn't. It's worrying that Britain is moving further away from our jointly agreed political declaration on key issues in the negotiations, Mr. Haas told the Asperger Allgemeine newspaper. It's simply not on, because the negotiations are a complete package, as is laid out in the political declaration, which is not legally binding and means nothing, as I've said so many times. Mr. Maas said there was currently neither common ground on how to shape a comprehensive trade deal or on whether to extend the negotiation period beyond the end of this year. Well, there is common ground on not extending the negotiation period, so I would suggest you lie in there, mate. There's just not common ground from this side of the fence on giving you what you want. The common ground is with the people in the UK who back the government to give us the Brexit that we asked for. At the end of the day, what the EU wants is really not our problem. And of course, we already know about Simon Coveney from Ireland. No one cares, once again, needs to keep his nose out. But to finish it up, we even had Anne Widdecombe here issuing a critical Brexit warning to the Prime Minister. Anne Widdecombe has warned Boris it is crucial he does not extend the transition period, and I'm sure Boris is fully aware of, if not, Dominic Cummings and some of those around him are definitely going to be. The former Conservative MP and ex-Brexit Party MEP said pushing back the end of 2020 deadline for the UK and the EU to agree a post-Brexit free trade deal would create more uncertainty during the coronavirus crisis. Ms Widdecombe added that Britain needs to be free from the bloc's rules on state aid to rebuild the economy after the pandemic. The former minister told Express.co.uk, I think it's crucial that we do not extend it. First of all, when this coronavirus crisis is over, we are going to have to rebuild the economy, and we're going to need to be able to give such support as the government sees fit to our own industries. We cannot do that under EU rules. State aid is specifically prohibited. Though the EU have relaxed some of them now, it's not going to last for very long. As soon as the situation's over, they will likely go back to their state aid rules, as we all know. It's absolutely crucial that we are out as soon as possible so that we can give state aid to our own industries, and also so we don't have to bail out the European Union with its 1.6 trillion stimulus that is just pumped in. Hell no, we don't want a part of that. Another reason is it's only prolonging the uncertainty. At this time of all times, we need certainty. We need to be able to say to business and commerce, we've left, the trade deal is being concluded, the transition period ends on December 31st, and no messing so that everyone knows where they are. The ex-Tory MP warned there will be an awful lot of disappointed people if the Prime Minister extends the transition period. Yeah, possibly up to 17.4 million of them, maybe even more, because some Remainers obviously will just want it done. It's only the Ramonas out there that are still trying to stop it. And we don't need to go over what the rest of she said, you get the idea. She's saying exactly the same thing as we are. And Widdicombe, as usual, is on the ball. You cannot extend the transition period for a number of reasons, but probably most importantly, the people of this country will quickly turn against the Tory government if they do. So guys, a hard Brexit could well be on the cards, because as the UK's ministers keep saying, we have left, it is done, get over it. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.